Sure low. It'll be grand.
And welcome back to Sure It'll Be Grand, and more specifically, What's on the Box. It's Kevin. Say hello, Kevin.
Hello, Kevin. I'm here too.
And it's myself, Daniel. It'd be weird if it wasn't. It'd be weird if it was just Kevin and you're hearing this voice.
I'm very good at impressions.
That would be amazing. Could you imagine someone who's just really good at impressions and they just do a podcast like with like 3 people, but it's actually just them and they don't let anyone know?
I would madly respect them, I think.
Oh, that'd be amazing. I would love.
And like the podcast gets famous, and then they go to a Comic-Con thing, and there's only one person sitting at the long table, and everyone's like, "Where's the rest of them?"
Oh, they were just the back there. Sorry, I just get changed really quickly, like Mrs. Doubtfire.
Oh, so he quick changes as well. There's a whole fucking. That's a movie, I think. Yeah. That's a whole movie. We need to bring back 90s movies that involve quick changes.
Yeah, absolutely. But yes, we're back with She-Hulk, episode 6 of this season, and we're having a wedding episode in an awkward place.
Yeah.
That is okay, because weddings happen at awkward times.
Yeah, the episode starts with, we're doing a wedding episode. I know it's awkward because you got hyped from the last episode, but weddings are awkward. And firstly, the moment I heard that, this episode kind of lost my respect a bit, because you can't call attention to tropes and then just follow them without changing.
Nah, disagree. I'm completely on board. I was like, yes! Woo!
No, like, here's the thing. The rest of the episode won me over, but that one bit, I'm like, no, you can't do it. You can't just not change formula after addressing formula.
Oh, I thought that's actually what won me over. It's just like, nice.
You were won over by them just unabashedly being like, this is a wedding episode. This is just a wedding episode. Don't worry about it.
I just like that it's slowly become like, hey, people who hate the show get wrecked.
Yeah. Which, like, if there's one thing about this episode, is it fucking doesn't like people who don't like the show.
Hey, people don't like the show are part of a secret organization. All
yes.
right.
Yes, apparently. They're a part of a secret organization that's very similar to 4chan/Reddit.
I mean, she literally says that, I'm just using answers that some guys have sent me in the past in messages. And it's just like, god damn. And apparently it was very convincing because they were verified instantly to get into the website. But we'll get there when we'll get there. I'm going to say this. I think... there's a moment in this episode where I've joked before, said, things are going to be awoken in people. I think someone got awoken in me when she wore that dress and she walked up up to the wedding. I was like, okay, all right, I'm okay with this.
I was all right with it. It was fine.
No, I was more all right with it. I was like, okay, more of this, please, thank you. She gets invited by her old school friend Lulu, who's a bit of a bitch, but I guess she had to ask, and guess she thought she had to say yes, even though she could just said no, or I don't know. Oh, I'm sorry, I have Hulk things going on.
I'm very sorry, I have all flus.
Yeah, exactly. All Hulk flu.
Yeah.
She her friend makes a point that if she ever goes to her wedding, she definitely wants to see the superhero costume that was made for her. And she says, I'm never going to wear that. She's obviously going to wear it like season finale. Like this is how this works.
They're going to keep calling and be like, "Oh, I'm not going to wear it. I'm not going to wear it," and then she's going to wear it. And
unless at the end of it,
she's wearing it.
Or unless at the very end of the season she didn't wear it, and she was like, "Bet you thought I was going to wear it. Go fuck yourself," and just leaves the show.
What if she just wears it to like go to the gym?
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, it looks kind of gym clothy wise, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's just a one piece kind of gym getup.
I mean, she can't really wear gym clothes that are made for normal humans, you know.
I mean, spandex.
Yeah.
Just in general was told. So
spandex is your friend. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay.
Better than most, I'd say.
Yeah. So, they have their wedding episode. She goes up, her friend Lulu is just like, oh my god, you came as the Hulk, please don't do this, it's my special day. And she's like, okay, right. And she arrives, they go to the party. I know that dress was made to, like, work for both sizes. I think that's the impression we got, wasn't it?
Yes, basically all of the clothes would fit for both. So it was probably designed with with Jen in mind,
Yeah.
and then it would fit to She-Hulk when she grew.
Though I will say, it wasn't very flattering on Jen, really. Neither of the dresses were. Mind you, the pink dress was designed just for Jen, and she's a bridesmaid, and they're all meant to look ugly, so the bride looks nicer anyway.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's. By the way, if anyone didn't know that, that's how bridesmaid dresses work.
Yeah, that's the
For
trope.
more information, watch the movie Bridesmaids.
I like that we have like serious masculine conversations in this podcast. About a half an hour talking about shoes the last episode, and now we're talking about bridesmaids. Anyway, but yeah.
So yeah, the A plot is focused on Jen is going to a wedding where she's been told she can't She-Hulk out because she'll steal attention away from the bride.
Yeah.
The B plot, meanwhile,
really
that's
interesting.
happening.
Didn't expect this.
I preferred the B plot in this episode.
Fun. It was fun, yeah.
So
I
basically,
want to know more about him. But yeah, go on.
Yeah, I looked up this guy who appeared in it. So basically, we can go over what happens in the B plot, I think, really quickly.
Yes.
But basically, it's Mallory Book, who is the lawyer from the last episode who defended Jen, and Jen's assistant Nikki are working on a divorce case for a man named Craig Hollis, aka Mr. Immortal.
And as people need to remember, the whole thing about that new law firm branch is that they do superhero stuff. People with supernatural powers, and you might have guessed what Mr. Immortal does.
Yes. I really fucking liked the spin they did on him. He's like, oh, I love getting married, but I hate conflict, so I fake my own death instead of divorcing them.
Yeah, yeah.
And when we actually get to the divorce settlement meeting, there's about 8 or 9 different people he's divorced from.
Yeah.
And I emphasize people. There's a husband in there too.
Yeah. I also want to say, when he first tells the lawyers what he did and does, they're like, holy shit, no, that's awful. What the fuck? And hey, you can't say this. We're defending you.
Yeah.
We can still tell you what you think. And they start giving out to him. And
they start generating conflict, which, as we know, he doesn't like. So he takes his hat and it fucks himself through the window.
But, to be fair, we've all been in that teenage angstiness where it's I'd rather die than do this.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really not a big deal. It's just a small thing. It's just fuck this. Just let me die.
Yeah. But I looked up Mr. Immortal. I paused the episode because they said Mr. Immortal, and that is such an obvious oh, this is a character from the comics. We're name dropping a character from the comics. So I paused the episode and looked him up. And you know what? I looked him up and I was immediately I knew that the episode was going to disappoint me with the wives.
Yeah.
Have you looked up who his main romantic interest is in the comics, at least on Wikipedia?
The only thing I saw is what he looks like, and it's they don't look the same. But anyway, go on.
Okay, so do you want to know? So I looked up who he was in the comics, and it's pretty similar power-wise. He's immortal, but his notable comic love interest was a fellow member of the Great Lakes Avengers.
Yeah.
A woman named Dinah Sore.
Aww.
A Wisconsinite humanoid with the attributes of a pterosaur.
What did her and Mr. Mortal date since prehistoric times?
They have been on and off. No, in modern day.
No,
she hasn't been prehistoric.
Well, I like to imagine she's immortal as well, but she's a dinosaur that slowly evolved, and he was just a human the whole time, and they slowly dated for millions of years.
No, the weird thing is, I looked at up. As far as I'm able to tell, I might have misread it, but she's just someone who was born in Wisconsin who looks like a dinosaur.
Okay. I mean, the X-Men exists, I suppose, so.
And she just dates Mr. Immortal occasionally. They're on and off. In the comics, he's actually a lot sadder of a character because everyone he loves is dying around him.
Whereas this Mr. Immortal, we know, just oh my god, will you just die?
Yeah. Actually, another interesting thing about Mr. Immortal in the comics is that he has a connection to a cosmic entity.
Yeah.
That he knew since childhood, and that cosmic entity's name is Death Urge.
Oh.
Which he called Dirge, for short, and everyone around him thought it was just an imaginary friend. But Death Urge would constantly be making him play in traffic and do dangerous shit. like, oh, you should light your house on fire and lie under the floorboards. Like, fucking weird shit. So the version we got in this episode was a much more comedic play on the Mr. Immortal character.
Yeah.
Than what was in the comics. I was more interested by that Wikipedia read than I was during the episode. The episode's alright. I actually quite like the episode. But that Wikipedia read of Mr. Immortal made me go, huh, that's weird. It's like he's dating a dinosaur, and also his imaginary friend is suicidal tendencies.
Yeah. It certainly is an idea, isn't it?
Yeah. But yeah, so his plotline is about divorcing all the women that he's... not all the women, all the people that he's been unable to actually divorce.
Yeah, because he hasn't been himself in a long while.
Yeah. You know? And splitting up the assets and all. And that's what Nikki and Mallory are doing. They're splitting up the assets. I'm going to be honest, I don't think they split them up very fairly, because one of them got a bunch of money and one of them got an apology.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's how divorce hearings work. I don't, you know what? I've never gotten divorced, and I hope to never get divorced. And in my lifetime,
why does your relationship stuff keep coming up in this podcast, Kevin?
I don't intend on it. But I just wanted to say I don't know anything about divorce hearings really.
Yeah.
And I don't really intend on learning more about divorce hearings.
No, that's fair. Right. Okay.
So that's most of the B plot. We might reference it again, but the A plot. Let's talk A plot.
Yeah, the A plot. Jen seems to just like, first of all, she can't be in a normal form, and then she's like expected to do everything because the guys need their shirts ironed because they played Mario Kart.
And they're like, yeah, it's a real sport now. Esports are real sports. It's on ESPN, and I'm like, wow, that joke. Is that a joke?
It's about 4 years out of,
Like, I don't even think that joke was ever on time. Like,
I think it was on time when esports first became a thing, but that's about it.
I don't know, but like even the way it was delivered, like, just something was off about it. There was a few jokes like that where I'm like, really, is the joke we're doing that? But like, I mean, to be fair, I've been like that throughout the whole show. This is just kind of the first time where I'm like, I'm bringing that up. It's not actually. I did bring up that the dialogue was a bit weird in episode 1.
You should
but
mention
like,
though one thing. Someone shows up to the wedding.
Yes, we completely forgot that Titania shows up to the wedding.
Yeah, and she's all like, Jen, oh my god, you think too much or whatever, and think the world's about you, but it's not. It's clearly she wants to be there to, attack Jen because she said this wasn't over yet. And she's dating a dude that we are, fucked up way of assessing people. It's meant to not be really worth her time dating. She's obviously using him and all, that kind of shit.
They could have literally showed any guy there and it would have worked in Titania's character, but with the guy they showed, you knew that was the intent.
They did the whole, he's Asian, he's wearing glasses, and we sure love a stereotype. Haha, nerds. Okay.
Very funny. Timely joke. I hope they talk about esports.
Yeah.
But
that's what he said, yeah.
Yeah, so that joke's like, but here's the thing I've been thinking about, because I watched the episode a little bit ago. I've been thinking about this. So the bride had an issue with She-Hulk being at her wedding, so just wanted plain old Jen.
Yeah,
she doesn't have an issue with Titania at her wedding.
Yeah, but I think a big thing is first of all that She-Hulk stands out a little bit more than Titania. I think that's fair to say. Like, Titania's gorgeous, and look, I know she's wearing weird clothing, and she's famous, but She-Hulk is literally an 8-foot tall green woman with apparently a great ass. Yeah, that wasn't my words, that was the people saying, everyone seems to find her very attractive.
I mean, that's like just a comic book thing. Everyone finds She-Hulk attractive.
Yeah. And now so do I. Sorry, what?
I prefer her on the page, gonna be honest.
Okay, fair enough.
But yeah,
I was going to say, well, I have a better chance of real life. Like, she's CGI, Daniel.
I mean, you have a better chance with the actress in real life, I guess,
I
or the person who like does the motion
Yeah.
capture.
There's
I guess.
talking about motion capture. When she was hugged by the bride,
Mm-hmm.
that didn't look great, did it? It felt like they had, I don't know, a bag of potatoes in place for her to hug, and then was like edited out.
Yeah, no, it's
Yeah.
like sometimes, like watching like a Marvel product recently, you'd be like, wow, it often feels like the CGI staff is criminally overworked and underpaid.
Yeah, it's weird
Uh,
how you suggest that. That's
yeah,
never come up before. Um, but yeah, that happens. We get weird comments about her boobs as well because she's been pushed into her boobs, I
yeah,
guess. But yeah, it is a. You do have a point though. Like major celebrity, who scoffs at people having 20 followers on Instagram.
yeah. She also wears like gold on her face.
Yeah, and I think she has killed a couple of sheep and then glued it to her body and painted it pink.
That's a reference to her coat, people. That is not a thing that happened in the episodes. Just so we're
I
clear.
think Peter might disagree. Uh,
Um, it
but
didn't
yeah,
explicitly happen. I didn't. The CGI team were luckily they didn't have to do the sheep butchering scene.
yeah.
Um,
Here's a question.
but they pitched it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is a cool question. Like, no, we'll leave it because there is a fight later on. So we'll
Yes.
go to the only glimmer of hope Jen had after being given like 1,000 jobs. She meets this guy.
Yeah, this is a really nice guy. He's interested in Jen instead of She-Hulk. He seems to like they really get along. Um, he's he's 100% like a secret agent trying to get her blood.
Yeah,
I do not trust him one bit.
yeah, because he seems to know just what to say.
Yeah.
And I suppose we can go from there onto while her friends finish the court. A weird
Yeah,
pop-up
so
came onto the screen, which led them to a weird group which called Hulk King.
no, sorry. No, the site is run by Hulk King.
Yeah, Hulk King.
But the actual site is called Intelligentsia.
Yeah, that sounds
Um,
very right-wing conservative.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
like immediately my thought is, wow, that sounds like QAnon.
Yeah,
And then they scrolled through and they're like, oh, it's memes and death threats. And I'm like, oh, so it is QAnon.
yeah.
But
and it's just loads of things like weird Reddit posts with like red holes poked into like Jen's eyes and like,
sniper rifle like
yeah,
edits.
lots of weird information about what she does and where she is at times. Like, I mean, genuine stuff that happens on the internet. This is not like one of those.
Yeah.
This doesn't. It happens. It's really fucking weird.
Yeah. And I have to like talk a bit about Intelligentsia because it's actually a thing in the comics because I looked it up.
Yeah.
Intelligentsia. Obviously in the show it's an online forum, kind of a QAnon, Reddit, 4chan type shit.
Yeah.
But if you look in the comics, Intelligentsia is a supervillain team.
Okay.
Specifically a supervillain team comprised of the greatest evil minds in Marvel. Now, this is spanning the Ant-Man villain Egghead. Like it can go low level with Fantastic Four villains like the Trapster.
yeah.
But even like huge names are in it, like MODOK and Doctor Doom have been in it. But you want to know the big name in Intelligentsia, the one who founded the team?
Go on.
It just so happens to be one Hulk villain known as the Leader.
Yes, and here is what it's technically part of this episode. The recap over what's happened in the last few episodes. They've kind of recapped the idea about the needle, about the guys trying to get She-Hulk's blood. I'm starting to think more and more that the one guy she was out on the date with, that was asking her how to pierce the skin, was acting very, how would you pierce that skin, huh? I'm starting to definitely say, yeah, this is quite obviously he's involved
Yeah.
with this. Like, let's be real. Like, there's no, like, I feel like I'm stupid now for ever going, interesting. It's like, no, yeah, that's very much on purpose.
Yeah, like.
Yeah.
I feel like he's definitely. I feel like the new guy is more than likely. If he's not, I'll be happily surprised, I guess.
Do you think they had maybe that every single person she dated has been like an espionage thing about trying to gather more and more information to get the more and more perfect guy to date her?
If it was, then it was fucking terrible. But to be fair, it was organized by people who seem to frequent 4chan and Reddit.
Look, the trickster was in charge of that first, you know. I don't know the trickster at all, but I'm gonna guess on his name that he's not.
Oh no, it's not the trickster, it's the trapster.
Oh, the trapster. Okay.
Yeah, I didn't look up the trapster. I'm gonna be honest. I just know that he's kind of low level.
He sounds like a Spider-Man villain people forgot kind of thing, you know.
Like the wizard.
Yeah. Or the Stonewall dude.
Oh, you mean the wall?
Yeah. Who only showed up in that one story, didn't he, at the baseball?
I can't. I don't. I'm. You know, I've seen the video recommended to me about the wall, but I've never actually watched the video.
Watch it. It's actually quite good to watch. Sorry, I can't remember the name right now, folks. But I'm fairly sure there's only one video that's ever talked about that comic, so you know.
Oh, I just looked up the trapster right now. I can't believe I put disrespect on his name because this isn't his. The trapster is a newer name. He used to be called Paste Pot Pete.
I've heard of Paste Pot Pete. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm sorry, trapster.
Yeah.
You get my respect.
Yeah.
He doesn't actually because he uses a fucking paste pot as weapon, but.
Yeah. Well, okay, so. Let's just say it's probably not the most intelligent character. But, anyway, yeah. So
I don't think we're getting the trapster.
No. But yeah, after all that, you know, they are trying to still get Jen's blood, right?
Yeah.
And they're trying to get better needles. I guess they got vibranium needle this time. Because well, just at the very end of the episode, we'll go back to the fight with Titania in a second. We see a new syringe being put into a little briefcase with a toxic symbol, obviously for radiation or whatever.
Yeah, because her blood will be radioactive. So.
Yeah, exactly. Which is weird because, well, I mean, I suppose because her body biologically breaks down gamma radiation in the environment, doesn't it?
I think so.
Yeah, because otherwise. She can't have that much radiation because she's only got a drop or two from her cousin. Like, it's not that much, you know?
I mean, realistically speaking, if we're going by like, her blood is actually radioactive, then we'd be talking about a Godzilla situation.
Yeah. I want to go back though.
Yeah.
More with the introduction of Mr. Immortal. Do you remember the time in the Marvel Universe where the weirdest thing that humans had to deal with at the time were like the Hulk, a weird hammer in the desert, and some dude making himself a suit of armor, right? Like,
that 1 week.
Yeah, and like that 1 week, and like all that kind of stuff happened. But like, okay, the weirdest part of that is the Hulk, right? I think that's fair enough to say. The hammer, like, I don't think anyone had to really deal with that except S.H.I.E.L.D. Like, but people had to deal with that with Hulk. Now there's like, I like S.H.I.E.L.D. has been around for a while. Like, did they keep an eye on people like Mr. Immortal? Like, because there's so many people are coming out of the woodwork now that if you introduced Mr. Immortal in like Iron Man, you'd be like, sorry, what? Who the fuck is? He's immortal?
Yeah.
Okay, it's a bit weird.
Okay, well, like we do have to take into account in Iron Man 2, one of the 3 movies you were talking about there for that 1 week.
Well, I was mentioning Iron Man 1, but yes.
Yeah, well, the 1 week is Iron Man 2, Incredible Hulk, Thor. But yeah, so basically fucking I had a brain fart. Oh yeah, basically in Iron Man 2, there is a scene where Tony is sat down with Nick Fury in a fucking warehouse where a bunch of screens are put up.
Yeah.
And on those screens are a bunch of little pinpoints all over the world, seemingly indicating references to potential Avengers.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, if that is what that is, then all those people who are like, oh, fucking Nick Fury is making a superhero team and he has no superheroes, what's he got? I mean, obviously he had ideas.
Yeah.
Like,
but I'm just saying, like, in the general zeitgeist of that world, like, things really blew up after that week, you know? Like,
I think it was less after that week and more, like, in New York in 2012.
Yeah, potentially. I mean, Iron Man 1 and 2 happened. But again, yeah, I suppose you could say Iron Man 2, which was very similar to Iron Man 1, with a few differences. Yeah, I mean, I guess it's like, oh yeah, he's an arms dealer, and he built himself a suit. Fair enough. The Hulk is probably still the weirdest thing, and to be fair, by the time we get around to the Avengers, the Hulk seems to be more of a story people talk about.
Yeah, honestly, I'd be fairly certain that the Hulk would be covered up by S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah,
I'd lot of the time.
Yeah, I'd say he's covered up, but I get the impression that, you know, he's a cryptic.
Encrypted, yeah.
Yeah, you know, that's what he is.
Yeah, no, he'd be like, oh, did you hear the giant green man of Brazil?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, he was Bigfoot, actually, probably.
Yeah. So basically, what I'm saying is that after the snap, and I think, yes, you can say the Battle of New York, and yeah, obviously it was a big one, but I think definitely the snap made weird stuff be accepted now, right across the border. Like, because remember, New York was still just New York. It wasn't a worldwide event. So, yeah, I guess that's what happened. London got attacked as well in Thor 2.
Yeah, I think after New York got attacked.
Yeah.
Which New York got attacked was a huge thing. It was basically like multiple 9/11 like levels of damage.
Yeah.
To New York. And a fucking alien wormhole opened up, and a horde of aliens came through. That is world-shattering info to the governments of the world.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
But then after that, Thor 2, another invasion happens, this time in London. Now, this one didn't cause as much damage, but it caused a fair fucking amount of damage. I think it destroyed Cambridge University, did it?
Yeah. I think a lot of the front was destroyed, yeah.
But yeah, so that happened. Fucking, part of Washington, D.C. got blown up in Captain America the Winter Soldier. Yeah. Iron Man went to Texas in Iron Man 3.
Yeah, I agree with all those things, right? Except, you know, the last one. But, like, in general, of course, this has been shocking. There's been, like, a big 9/11 moment happening across the earth. You know, people are like, oh my god, right? Oh, even bigger. I get that. But,
I've got a better one for Iron Man 3.
Okay,
sorry.
go on.
Yeah.
Go on, say
the president got kidnapped by a terrorist cell and hung up like in a crucifixion in between two cranes.
Yeah,
that's a better one.
Again, I wonder how much of that's public knowledge, though. Just saying.
I mean, it was literally they filmed it.
But did they release it?
I don't know. They were planning on doing a Mandarin type thing.
What I'm saying, Kevin, is
yes,
if an immortal man came forward at any time before the snap, that would have still been a big, massive bit of news. Like, people would be shocked. Now, it's small claims court stuff. Yeah. Not small claims, but you know what I mean? It's a civil court thing, and it's not even to do with him being immortal. It's what he's been doing while he was being immortal.
Yeah.
Like, it seems like this would have been a big, massive deal a couple of movies ago. Now it's just like, look, we all fucking disappeared for 5 years. Half of us disappeared for 5 years. Like, this is not a big deal. This guy lives forever. Sure, I came back from the dead. So what? You know?
Yeah. There's also the fact that, like, he is not the only immortal on Earth, and he hasn't been for, like, I'm going to assume the entirety of the time he's been alive.
Yeah.
Because we know for a fact that vampires are coming to the MCU.
Yeah, we also know Eternals exist.
Yes. Well, the Eternals are like a whole other thing. But like, because they sectioned themselves off from society.
Yeah.
Vampires would
Not all of
actively
them
participate
didn't.
in society.
Not all of them section. Some became movie stars in India.
Well, he's fucking based. He was the best one in that movie.
Yeah,
His whole thing of like, oh yeah, I pretend to be my own son every time.
Yeah.
Like I retire, I become my own son and continue my career. That's fucking brilliant. I love it. It's a stupid thing. He would immediately get caught, but I love it.
No, he'd be okay for, I'd say, until around now. But if the next generation came around, then we'd be like, wait. Because, you go back a generation, you're looking at the 90s, cameras, a little bit, they were better. You go back a little bit, generation before, start talking about black and white, like people always make it out that they go through the generation and say, this person's immortal, but no one knows us really. Nowadays, not so much.
Oh, like, there's also the fact that nowadays we just, like, look at a picture of Keanu Reeves next to a painting of someone that kind of looks like Keanu, and we're like, Keanu's immortal.
Yeah.
Like, my big point here is vampires, because we know that vampires are the big thing that's coming forward. We don't even know if we're getting an Eternals sequel, I don't think, or any mention of them going forward, really.
Yeah, I'd be surprised, to be honest.
But we know that we're getting vampires because Blade is on the way. I think people have seen vampires in the Werewolf by Night trailer, and that's coming on Halloween. That's not far away.
No.
And that took place, I'm assuming, around like the 1920s, kind of like back in the same era as the Universal movies came out.
Yeah.
Because it makes sense to set it there.
Yeah.
And actually, the more I've pondered on it, I've actually really kind of warmed to it a lot, and I'm looking forward to it. But yeah, so like we know that like the monsters are coming, and that's really cool. It does, however, make the older MCU stuff go like, okay, but like, where were they?
Yeah, I'm just wondering. Like, that's my major point. Do you think just after Snap, all these people who've been hiding all this time now it's gonna go like, we don't have to hide anymore? Alright, cool, I'm gonna go to the law firm and sort some legal shit out?
I mean, maybe. I mean, we like, because I think let's think about the big things that have pushed it. I think so. The Snap, obviously, yeah. That's the big one was the Snap.
Half the population literally came back to life after 5 years. I think
it disappeared and then came back. So
half the population's weird as shit now.
Yeah. So that happened. Fucking weird ass god appeared in the sky and then disappeared. From Eternals,
Yeah, and disappeared, but also like a point to be made like, now there's just a giant statue of a man in the ocean.
Yeah, there's a giant fucking statue up somewhere north, in like the fucking like Scandinavias. Like what the fuck? We've got what was the other one? I had another big one. Asgard. Asgard is on Earth.
Yeah.
And they're just integrating with society. We saw like an Asgardian
place to go to.
It's a tourist place.
Oh, just want to say something quickly. Right. Do you remember that ad where Hulk had a roommate? Not Hulk. Thor had a roommate.
Thor.
Yeah. The actor is in Love and Thunder, and
I saw him.
He's a tour guide. It's like, oh, beautiful. Mwah!
I fucking love that there can. I just wish Thor acknowledged that he was there. Is the only thing, because I desperately need those to be 100% canon.
Yeah. Now here's the real question: did Thor live in Australia, or did the Australian dude live in New Asgard?
Well, here's the thing: we know because of Love and Thunder that Thor did live on Earth for a while.
He did, yeah.
And it was kind of in that window. Do you think he started living with him after he broke up with Jane?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, look, Thor had some reactions to all his people being killed.
Yes.
Right. So I guess, like, him breaking up and him knowing the exact date and time and second of that breakup, I guess he's an emotional man.
Yes. I definitely would agree with that.
Yeah.
Especially after watching Love and Thunder.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh God, is this the one where we finally rant about Love and Thunder instead of She-Hulk?
No. Let's finish She-Hulk first.
Okay, we only have really one more thing to mention
There's
about
a fight
She-Hulk,
with
I think.
Titania, and
The fight with Titania.
Yeah, she punches She-Hulk and throws her. Like, she punches She-Hulk Jen in Jen form, though.
Mm-hmm.
And she gets slapped a good 30 feet and is okay.
Yes. So this is like this is a weird one. I generally take this as people who are superheroes can just take more damage
Okay.
in these kind of things. Like even if it makes no sense for them to be able to.
Okay, Kevin, well, I'm going to say that's absolutely not true. I'm afraid. Because in Ragnarok, we see Bruce jumping off a helipad. He does not transform. He hits that bridge. We hear cracking. There is pain. And then he turns into the Hulk.
Okay, you're right. Never mind. I take back what I said.
Yeah. I have a theory. It's not a great theory. Now, Kevin, you never drank, really.
No.
But one thing, and it's a thing that's been scientifically recorded as well, is that a lot of times when drunk people get into similar accidents that non-drunk people get into, they tend to have less injury because they don't brace themselves for pain, or they don't brace their bodies, so they tend to be a bit more spaghetti wobbly and not be okay, but better.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, like,
was she just so loaded that like
yeah,
she just didn't feel the hits?
yeah. The only issue with that is like she got punched in her face to fly 30 feet. Like, how much non-bracing of the face can you do?
It's a weird one.
Yeah, I guess the real thing is, when she turns into She-Hulk, she doesn't really turn into a pure Hulk either. Like, she's roughly the same size as Bruce, sure.
Yeah.
And she has some muscles, she's strong. But she is not complete Hulk in physique. She is still more like a muscly woman in Hulk height, right?
Yeah.
Whereas Hulk, no one on Earth looks really like the Hulk. Not really. Like, those proportions aren't really a thing, right?
Abomination.
Right. So there is
Thanos.
Like, yeah, not on Earth.
His body is.
No,
wait, he got disintegrated. Never mind.
Right. So here's the deal, right? So I wonder, is Jen, even in her human form, kinda closer to Hulk in the way that Hulk is closer to her human form? Like, they're neither in pure human form or pure Hulk form. They're kind of in a quarter in, quarter out on both sides, you know?
Yeah.
Because it's the only way to explain it. She got punched in the face and flew 30 feet. Like,
see,
sorry.
Here's the thing. I can kind of suspend my disbelief on her getting punched in the face and surviving because, you know, she does have the plot armor kind of the deal, you know?
Okay.
However, there is a scene that happens a little bit later in the fight that I have a lot more trouble suspending my disbelief for.
Is it Titania getting her teeth knocked out?
Titania gets her teeth knocked out, not by getting punched in the face or anything, but by slipping and hitting her face on the floor.
It is interesting because if she can punch someone and they go flying 30 feet, like, impact happens on the hand, right?
Yeah.
And if her teeth are as vulnerable as her hand, surely they should also be able to take a fairly decent fall, you know?
Yeah, like does she not have the durability with her strength, or
well, she has to have the durability because she punched a woman 30 feet.
And she was taking punches from She-Hulk in the fight.
Yeah.
So, like, why did her teeth break?
I'm starting to wonder, like, because she was kind of made strong. Like,
Yeah,
are there just parts of her that they made strong?
maybe. But she was like thrown through a wall in like the first episode.
No, she walked through a wall, didn't she?
I think she was thrown again through the wall. Was she?
I thought she entered the court by, like, just jumping through the wall.
She did, but like didn't like Jen punch her and she made a new hole, or she hit her
I
against the
feel
wall?
like we're kind of going around two circles here. Of she went through a wall twice. Um, you know, like I think
We can agree she went through a wall.
yeah. You know, she's hit a few times, so you know it's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I guess what if her maybe like look, this is pure speculation and it's not going to be the answer.
Mm.
Maybe she had her teeth knocked out before.
So they're like
She
they're
became
fake
powerful.
teeth.
But yeah, but then you know she does bleed. You know, I had
It's
gums
such a-
vulnerable then.
It's such a weird one. Because like the damage that we see characters take in fights has generally been like in Marvel. I mean, like generally has generally been fairly consistent with what they should be taking. And when I say what they should be taking, I don't mean like realistically. I mean in regards to what they have taken.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm just saying. Whereas I could see a fight between She-Hulk and Captain America being somewhat even, though I think just Captain America's like skill and history, he could probably beat She-Hulk in some way.
I'll be honest. I think most people on the Avengers could beat She-Hulk
Maybe I don't
from
know,
like an
Hawkeye, for
experience level.
yeah, like I think
I
Hawkeye
think-
would
I
be
think-
caught in the like he'd have to have some fucking arrows for that.
He does have some fucking arrows.
He does
He has
have
a
some-
Pym arrow.
Yeah, he does have a Pym arrow. Yeah, I suppose that could work. Yeah,
Yeah.
true. Okay, right. Let's go back here. All right.
Yeah.
So yeah, I could see Captain America beating She-Hulk. And by that, I also can. No, I could see them being quite close to each other. Like, I don't think it'd be. It's a fairly even fight, but I'd say then, like Captain America could easily beat up Titania. He just has to throw a shield a few times at our face, and it's over.
Yeah.
And if she is like the enemy of She-Hulk, well, kind of enemy, you know. I don't know.
She's the closest thing to the primary antagonist that we have
She
currently.
won't be forever. I think she's just basically like
She's fodder for later.
even that. I think she's just an internet enemy. That's all she really is.
Yeah.
This is not serious.
I do have to say though, because I have been the voice pushing the leader as the main antagonist.
You must be happy.
I am quite happy. However, I do want to say one thing. I'm not putting all of my eggs in that one basket, because the MCU occasionally will throw all of its evidence pointing to one direction, and you'll be like, "Oh, it's that," and then pull the rug, and it's a completely different thing. Cough, cough, Mephisto, cough, cough.
Yeah.
And there isn't really a reason. So I'm not putting all my eggs and saying it's definitely 100% the leader. I think there's like still a chance it's Mallory, like the lawyer from this episode. I think that's like a non-zero chance. By the way,
yeah, I definitely think it's almost gone at this stage because she seems to just like they might become frenemies in the future, but right now
Yeah.
it seems like things are all right.
things are all right, but like again, I don't want to rule it out
Yeah.
because once again, the MCU can just be like, "Hey, here's a twist." Doesn't matter if that twist is good or not; they will do it.
Yeah. Here's the thing. Do you think she really invited her to be her bridesmaid?
It was a bit of a weird plot device, wasn't it?
Yeah. I'm just wondering if maybe Titania asked her to do so. Like she found the weak spot and said, "Hey, could you like invite her? And I'll pay for the fucking wedding." You know?
Yeah, but like she didn't just invite her; she was one of the bridesmaids.
Yeah, but I mean, again, if someone's paying for your entire wedding, you might just consider it. I mean, and she also like was asking her to like downscore all the cool things about her, like her being She-Hulk and all that. You know?
Yeah, yeah, but like, downplay all this She-Hulk things. But Titania wanted her to be She-Hulk for their fight.
Yeah, but then we also see that Lulu kind of loves her being She-Hulk as well.
I think she was supposed to be drunk.
No, she was definitely drunk. But usually the whole thing about drunk is that they're emotional. And that was obviously an emotional thing that she didn't want her to be Hulk. And then suddenly she's completely cool with it.
Yeah. I'm going to be honest, I don't think like it's consistent enough to be a plot. You know?
I'm just saying,
but
like, at the same time,
like I will say, point in your favor here. Like while I don't agree, I don't think it's like a consistent enough plan. I will say that the fact that she went to the wedding, she doesn't really publicize herself, you know?
Yeah.
She doesn't say, "Oh, She-Hulk is appearing here." She doesn't do that. So the fact that Titania knew where the wedding was and that Jen would be there is suspect.
Yeah.
Because I don't understand why. Like maybe she saw, someone posted on Instagram She-Hulk at a wedding, and Titania immediately like fucking saw someone in the background of a photo, hacked the networks, found his contact information, called him like, "Hey, you're at a wedding right now. I see you're a loser. Do you want a +1?"
Yeah, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe. It's hard to know. I think we might find out more. I don't think Titania might show up again this season, to be honest. I think that's kind of done.
She'll be in the end credits after getting a dentist appointment.
Yes. And the dentist is like an evil villain that has planned us all along to get
The
Titania's
Toothmaker.
teeth.
I don't know why he'd want her teeth. It's apparently the weakest part of her.
That's exactly why, because that makes a weakness out of her. It might be a weakness out of She-Hulk.
But I do like I have to ask. The first 4 episodes all had end credit scenes, but the last 2 haven't. Why?
I think they've taken the end credit scenes and just put them into the main episode, because that's when we see the whole syringe thing. It's at the very end. And I remember like going forward and realizing, yeah, no, they don't have an mid-credit scene or after-credit scene. But that would have been it. You know?
Yeah, and like the same thing for the fucking Daredevil last episode.
Yeah.
But why?
It seems kind of weirdly nebulous, doesn't it? But I suppose...
Yeah, like...
Do you think it's
like
because
the first 4 were all comedic bits?
Yeah, these are the most recent ones, except for Daredevil. Well, so just one of them is plot relevant. So that's why they have it as part of the episode. And I guess because
Daredevil is plot relevant, we know he's appearing.
Okay, yeah. We know he's appearing if he appeared in the episode later on as well. Like it's not that plot relevant. Whereas I think this one was actually like plot relevant. It told us like this is actually happening in the background. This is what's going on. There is a conspiracy going here. It's connected to that website. You know, there's actually sort of things. Like they could have not had the Daredevil head there and just had him appearing and be like, hey, look, it's Daredevil. I don't think it's technically plot relevant. You know, it's just like referencing, and obviously they had to do it because they're like, hey, we should really show Daredevil off because people love that dude. You know, that's why I think they didn't do the mid-credits, post credits scene. You know.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, like, because it seemed like, we're gonna get like post credits every week. That's just a comedic bit, you know.
Yeah, I kind of miss it. Because I like
because we had the drinking scene episode 1. We had her moving stuff in episode 2. In episode 4, we had the twerking scene, which wasn't funny. And in episode 4, we had Wong and his new girlfriend. And when I say girlfriend, I mean like girl who's his friend, because they're just buddies.
They are definitely buddies. There is no romance involved.
There's not a single bit of romance. They're watching The Sopranos.
Yeah.
And then after that, we got nothing. and I don't know why.
Yeah.
It's really weird. Like you could end off on the Daredevil stinger and then do a comedic bit at the end. Like I don't like, because most people. I'm gonna be honest. I think most people don't watch the comedic stinger. You know?
Yeah. I think it's just for people who they know some people go and check the credits for a scene, and that's like the little, here you go, enjoy. You know?
Yeah. Like, I hope it's not like, oh, the fucking twerking scene was terrible, so we're editing them out before the episode comes out.
But hey, Kevin, what if the twerking scene is plot relevant?
And that's the end of this podcast.
Yeah, I don't know. Looking forward. We don't have that many episodes left now. Only what? 4?
No, we're three. This is episode 6, so there's 9 episodes in the season, so there's 3.
Excellent. All right, cool. Yeah, folks. Who do you think is the big bad? Is Kevin right? And is it plot relevant? You know what I'm talking about. Is it plot relevant?
Is it plot relevant? They keep talking about it, so it might be.
Yeah, they might just. Also, anyone who doesn't like She-Hulk is now technically QAnon? QAnon. I only ever see it written. I don't even.
I also like pronounced it Quanon a lot, but then I heard someone say, "Oh yeah, QAnon," and I'm like, "Is that how you're supposed to say it?"
Yeah, I hope I never have to like hear it in any formal setting.
I honestly, I kind of wish I didn't have to bring it up, but it was too relevant to not.
Yeah. But yeah, folks, tune in next week. We'll give out a little review for next week. Let us know any theories you have. Kevin and I are also looking for TV shows. They don't have to be recent TV shows. They could be TV shows from the 90s, but some sort of TV show that we could do on the go. I think we would love to hear from you. Even something like Quantum Leap, because the new Quantum Leap's coming up, and I think it might be fun to watch some of the older ones. But yeah, if you have any suggestions, please let us know.
Yeah, especially if they're terrible.
Yeah, especially if they're terrible. By the way, Quantum Leap's not terrible, just to make that clear.
No, when I say something terrible, I mean like something that's objectively really bad, or something that would be torture for us to have to do. Like, for example, you could make us watch all of Lost, and oh god.
Yeah, we're not.
I've said it now. Yeah. It's now an option that people are going to think about.
Yeah, folks, don't think too hard.
Don't post suggestions for other TV shows.
Yeah, anyway, folks, we'll talk to you next week. Hope you enjoyed today's little review, and it's a bye from me.
Bye from me.
Bye-bye.
Asherlo. It's a big rant.